Hey guys, ever heard a girl say, he isn't my type, but over time, I became attracted to him? Well, there's a psychological phenomenon as to why she said that, and it's called the mere exposure effect. And basically what that idea is that the more we're around something or someone, the more we start to like that person or thing. This is not just about attraction in people, but this effect affects many parts of our lives, including dating and relationships, the fashion brands and styles that we gravitate towards, how we see content creators and influencers, and lastly, the habits that we formulate and choose. And we're gonna dive into how the mere exposure effect affects all these different scenarios within this video. First off, we're gonna do a 360 of this hoodie I picked up recently. Looks pretty cool, huh? Yeah, it's pretty flowy. Love the material, it hugs me. I got a straight up sweater and a blanket. In the realm of dating and relationships, people often develop crushes on those that they see on a regular basis. Even though they don't find them initially attractive or they're their ideal type. I know for a fact, some of you or a couple of you have experienced this canon event where you're in this group project or you're in this work project with this girl and she's typically not your type or you don't find her generally attractive. But over time, you kind of work on the shared experience, you start, sharing inside jokes, you start, developing rapport with her, and all of a sudden, you're just like, dang, I kind of like her. Over time, you start to sense that shift in feelings where you're just like, dang, she's not just any ordinary girl. So at this point, organic attraction grows where comfort and familiarity are at the basis of your new relationship rather than the superficialness of you guys both finding each other initially attractive, and that's why you guys are together. This is why sometimes, like on social media, you'll see, if we disregard wealth and status amongst these relationships, this is why sometimes you see on social media that there's this really attractive girl with, a not conventionally as attractive guy. This effect has also kind of trickled into the online dating market, especially on dating apps like Hinge. Coming from a 1-year Hinge veteran here, when I kind of swipe through all the girls in my area, a good system design or a good design decision that Hinge implemented is that you can actually go through all the people that you swiped left on and kind of reevaluate them. You can reevaluate all your matches and then essentially kind of see where it goes from there. And it's crazy because I've always questioned why did I swipe left on some of these girls initially? And it's the mere exposure effect that kind of falls into play here, and that's kind of the appeal. When you kind of see these girls over and over, you start to get a crush on them, and you're just they convert from a left swipe to a right swipe magically, and that's the appeal of the mere exposure effect. This effect can also affect how we see fashion today as well. I remember, throwing Essence, for example. There's some clothes that you're just like, hey, that's pretty cool. They end up on the wish list. But then there's also some clothes or some bags where you're just like, I would never buy that. Or that's cool, it's just not for me. Well, that bag for me was the Bao Bao Issey Miyake bag. And it's crazy because I went to Korea actually earlier this year and I went there for 2 weeks. And on day 1, I saw these Issey Miyake bags all over Seoul and Hongdae. It's crazy. Like every Chinese and Korean girl had this bag strapped up on their shoulder, walking around. And I swear, man, like it looked good. It looked good in real life, but for some reason, it just didn't look good over Essence. Or I don't know, maybe it's because I just don't see people wearing that bag here in my hometown, and it's just different across Asia. But, after being exposed to that bag over a 2-week period, dude, like, I started to look up that bag on Essence, and I started to contemplate if I should buy it or not, because that familiarity kind of does something to our brain over time and how we kind of associate what we see on a day-to-day basis over time as, modern or attractive. Spoilers, I actually didn't end up buying it. Typically when we see fashion trends emerge from the runway, or when you see someone on the streets kind of experimenting with their own fashion, you're kind of like, hey bro, like, that's pretty cool. It's not me though. Like, you do you. It's kind of cool. But the thing is that, fashion trends like initially don't become like mainstream cool. It's only cool when you start seeing it all over social media, everyone in your hometown or your city is wearing that. And that's kind of where, like, when you start to see it over and over in that familiarity, it starts to be widely acceptable over time. And, a lot of fashion trends actually started out that way, right? Like, do you remember like when in the 2017 phase when everyone was a hype beast, it'd be like your Supreme hoodie with skinny jeans below. And then during COVID, the oversized clothing trend started to become like a thing. Or like over the last couple years, you started to see the emergence of different outfit styles like Old Money, Starboy. And it's, this familiarity of just getting fed it over and over and seeing it in your eyes over and over. The mere exposure effect kind of shows that things that we see over time just naturally become acceptable to us. And that's kind of how trends stay, when people start to conform to that trend. And that's why some trends kind of stay or some trends go. It's when some people start, dressing up the way that they want to be perceived as, or they just don't naturally dress in the way that the trend is presented as. So then over time, as more people realize that that trend isn't their style, that's when the trend dies. So now we're gonna see how the mere exposure effect changes how we are perceiving content creators and also influencers. So I guess a little bit of a story time is that I never thought that I would actually like Jason the Ween as much as I do now. If you guys don't know, he's essentially a Twitch streamer where he hit a huge milestone for the Asian community where I think hit 100,000 subscribers on the platform. And that just means that he's like the top streamer essentially. And it's funny because like I started watching him when he was essentially just doing Riz videos with girls on Discord, where his signature move was creating some kind of intro where he would essentially match facial expressions to popular TikTok songs and maybe like create some kind of intro thirst trap. And I thought that was so funny at the time. But it's funny how like, over his like Twitch streaming career, like I kind of got fed those videos over time on my For You page. I followed this guy so much where this guy now hit 100,000 subscribers on Twitch. He's in Korea. He's doing all these collabs with all these influencers. And I'm gonna be honest, like I didn't think that I would like this guy as much as I do now. I never thought I'd actually be following his life, how he recently just met New Jeans, and he's honestly living the life that all of us wants. And yeah, no, Jason the Ween, like after watching him for so long, like gotta say, like he's a really entertaining guy. I really like him. But that kind of just shows that if you watch someone for so long and you're constantly being updated on, what they're up to and stuff, you start to become curious, and then all of a sudden you're like, hey, you're just following their lives. It's kind of like you guys, right? Like if you watch my videos a lot over time, maybe you'll really like me. Maybe you'll DM me on Instagram. You're just like, damn, Thomas, like you're kind of a cool guy. Like, what's up? I want to get to know you. Honestly, that would make my day. Please do it. I'm pretty sure this is pretty relatable to some of you guys, where you see the same influencer or content creator over and over a crazy amount of time. And before you felt indifferent about them, and now all of a sudden, like you just like them for no reason. And you can, blame it due to you kind of seeing them over and over, where you kind of gain that familiarity, and all of a sudden you're like, they just become more trustworthy, even though you don't even know them personally. So you kind of owe it all to this mere exposure effect as to why you suddenly like someone or this content creator, even though originally you felt indifferent about them. Habits can also be impacted by the mere exposure effect. You know, I remember when I was a freshman in college, just getting into working out and building a routine for myself at that time. Dude, working out was so hard to get me out of the house and into the gym to literally lift weights. Because, face it, it's hard work, man. But over time, you could argue that as I got more exposure to the activity, it just became easier. It honestly also became more fun as I kept on doing it. It's crazy. You know, this was a topic covered in the book Atomic Habits, where if we actually keep at the same activity for 21 days, it slowly becomes a habit of ours. And the way that this works is that as we perform the activity more and more, our brain associates, you know, let's say for example, working out as routine and comfort. Well, the mere exposure effect is super real. It's crazy that like when we're actually exposed to things over and over, it actually influences, you know, our dating lives, our style and fashion, the way that we perceive influencers and content creators, and then also our day-to-day habits. So the next time you end up catching yourself liking someone that isn't conventionally your type or someone that you find, you know, super attractive, well, you can give all the credit to maybe the mere exposure effect doing its work on you. Well, if the mere exposure effect has like done its job on you in some way, shape, or form, you know, I'd love to hear it down below in the comments and, you know, kind of get to know you guys a little more. Well, I hope you guys learned something new and found this video enjoyable. Well, I'll see you guys in the next video.